I've had friends say things to the effect of, "You seem normal and sane and pretty sound. How can you believe in the resurrection of a dead man?" This really strikes at the nub of Christianity, because the difference between Christianity and all other religions is that we believe not in some esoteric religious principle or some fable or legend, but we believe, and have very sound evidence, that our faith is based on historic fact. The Bible is not a religious but a historic book. You see, there are good ideas and bad ideas. This crazy notion that you can believe whatever you want, and if it's your truth, then it's true, is just plain false. Either something is true or it isn't. Either something happened or it didn't. We can't get away from cold, hard facts. So, either Jesus rose from the dead or he didn't. If he didn't, then us Christians are deluded and need some serious help. If he did, then that fact doesn't just impact Christians, but every person everywhere. Why do we believe that Jesus really rose from the dead? I'm going to give you 6 facts that are historically verified from a number of different sources, confirmed by the majority of skeptics and Christians, ancient and modern, at the very highest level of academia. Gary Habermas, a distinguished research professor who has dedicated his professional life to the examination of the relevant historical, philosophical, and theological issues surrounding the death and resurrection of Jesus, put these together. Number 1, Jesus died by Roman crucifixion. All 4 Gospels record him dying by crucifixion. The historic Christian record confirms it. Non-Christian sources affirm it. Examining the descriptions of Jesus' death in the Bible by the medical world confirmed that he couldn't have survived it. He died. Even the highly critical scholar John Dominic Crossan writes that he was crucified is as sure as anything historical can ever be. Number 2, after his death, his disciples had experiences that they believed were the appearances of the risen Jesus. Once again, these are confirmed by both the biblical record and extra-biblical sources. Number 3, the disciples were transformed from petrified individuals who had secreted themselves away to those boldly preaching his resurrection and being ready to die for that belief. At one point, these guys are hiding out, afraid to be associated with Jesus in any way. The next minute, they're back in the city where Jesus had been murdered, proclaiming boldly that Jesus is alive. Number 4, the proclamation of his resurrection was a central message of the church, starting in Jerusalem very early and not decades later. The very place where, if there was any chance of their deception being exposed, it would be in Jerusalem, where Jesus was murdered weeks before. But that is where they start. Imagine this. I could tell you 1 year ago, there was a bloke called George who lived in our city. He raised people from the dead, he healed the sick, and he said he was God. Everyone in our city knew him. It would be very easy for you to find out if that was true. You could ask around, you could investigate it very easily. Now, if I was lying, it would be much wiser for me to go to another continent and try that story over there. And this is even more incredible. Number 5. Jesus' unbelieving brother, James, is changed. He, at one point, thought his brother was insane, but he sees his resurrected brother and becomes a believer. James ends up leading the church in Jerusalem and being martyred for his faith. And finally, number 6, Paul, who persecuted Christians, became a believer after seeing the risen Christ. This led to him suffering incredibly for the gospel and dying as a martyr. Paul paid the highest price for his beliefs. These historic facts sit alongside the experiences of billions of people who right now and back throughout church history have encountered the risen Christ and have been changed forever. I'm one of them. 1 in 3 people today in our world believe that Jesus is alive and is the rightful ruler of the world. This Easter, you too can experience the life-changing truth through encounter with Jesus, who died 2,000 years ago. He died to give you a way back to relationship with God the Father. You and your actions, which the Bible calls sin, separate you from this beautiful friendship. Not a friendship of equals, but one in which we are completely dependent on His life, His forgiveness, and His death and resurrection. We don't earn this by working hard or being good, but by surrender. By believing and confessing with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, that God raised Him from the grave. The evidence clearly and unequivocally points in that direction. By repenting, which means changing the direction of our lives, He can come and make us new. Today, you can speak to Him. Ask Him to reveal Himself to you, to break into your prison of selfishness and set you free. Come and visit us at one of our churches in Taunton, Wellington, or Bridgewater. Or find a Bible-believing church that you can attend and get your life sorted out. Make peace with the God who is alive and whose tomb still remains empty.